This is the time to start today. My name is Balázs Németh. I'm an associate professor in adult learning and education at the University of Pécs. Also work as UCAN president. But I am also the guest professor at the University of Würzburg. So it is a special honor for me to welcome and greet Professor Regina EGETENMEYer and Vanessa BEU from Julius-Maximilian-University in Würzburg. Before I would like to give the floor to you, may I just share my screen with you for a warming up just to begin with. And this is something that may be interesting, that we have a special focus today in accordance with some latest developments in the world of adult and lifelong learning. And I think this is today very much important, as we have advertised that we would like to turn the focus of the Open Fora to different aspects of university lifelong learning. We are very much concerned in UCAN that universities have a significant role in the quality development of adult learning and education today, and we have a strong response to international bodies which have formulated quality concerns in this field of practice and also innovations, research, developments. And I think universities have a significant role and responsibilities to provide a good frame to develop professionalization for adult educators. In this respect, we know that there have been a number of calls and initiatives formulated by international bodies and also by a number of universities collaborating in the field. But may I just call your attention to a recent declaration of the European Council of Ministers. There was a conference early September in Ljubljana, Slovenia, and draft declaration on adult learning and education was formulated to be accepted for 2030, for the decade to come. And in this declaration, you will find an aspect of quality and professional development in adult learning education. And the text is very clear about the importance to provide permanent quality professional training of adult educators. I think, and I'm very much convinced, that the University of Würzburg is a leading platform and a leading community in the research and in the innovation of this particular aspect. University lifelong learning is bridging towards quality adult learning. And for this very reason, I'm more than honored to greet Regina EGETENMEYer and Vanessa BEU, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Balázs. Also from my side, greetings to you. It's very nice to have you now for several months with us here in Würzburg and to exchange. I also welcome all the participants. Thank you very much for this interest in our work and in our project. So what we plan to present you today is an interinstitutional cooperation, which we have built up during the last 8 years. Together also with University of Pécs and many other partners. And we like to give you, as a first step, an insight into this partnership on higher education, and on the other side, and then in the second step, reflect why we think what is the core of our international collaboration. Our idea, maybe that also to refer to Balázs, is to provide a joint study offer for students and practitioners in adult education. So we win each year, and we are very happy that this works. People from adult education practice and students, master and doctoral students, to study together this certain program. So we are offering it now in 2022 for the 9th time. There were several financing projects before, a Compa project, Intel project, and at first 8 years ago, it was under the lifelong learning scheme, an Erasmus intensive program, but we don't like to focus too much on this project management, but rather would like to show you results of this partnership and what we think, what are the core criteria for the international collaboration. Now I hand over to Vanessa BEU, and I will come back later with my presentation.
Okay, thank you also from my side. Yes, right. I first going to present the partnership and its results and how you can benefit from these results. And then Professor EGETENMEYER will go over to the international collaboration. INTAL, International and Comparative Studies for Students and Practitioners in Adult Education and Lifelong Learning, was, as already said, run under the Erasmus Plus program. And it is a strategic partnership between 8 European universities and 2 practice institutions. And these university partners were beside the University of Pécs, also the University of Florence, the Dublin City University, the University of Ljubljana, the Helmut Schmidt University Hamburg, the University of Lisbon, and the University of Padua. And the partners from practice were DVV International and the European Association for the Education of Adults. And more partners, see below the blue box, from all over the world have supported the INTAL project. The overall aim of INTAL was to connect academic learning and the practice field. And furthermore, INTAL promotes the international networks in adult learning and education, is building a learning community, and is making education open, accessible for everyone. Therefore, INTAL has developed open educational resources which are available on our INTAL website and which provide everyone, students, university faculties, and colleagues from the field of adult education, the possibility to teach and study international and comparative adult education and learning. And for this purpose, 4 intellectual outputs have been developed: INTAL at Home, a learning community working in adult education, and a blended learning methodology, which I will present now. INTAL at Home is for non-mobile students and practitioners interested to study international and comparative studies in adult education. Therefore, INTAL at Home provides a self-directed learning path for doing comparisons in adult education at home. It is a fully open access learning environment consisting of a learner's guide, online tutorials, reading and video materials from research and practice, online self-tests on the topic sustainable development goals, professionalization, and employability. And as well, it has interactive online groups for collaboration and networking. And all materials can be used in combination or as standalone units. For example, teachers can use the materials as tools for teaching international and comparative studies at their universities. To support adult educators in teaching international groups in adult education, INTAL has developed a learning community. On the INTAL website and the LinkedIn professional network for adult education, experiences and methods for teaching in international learning setting are shared in a systematic manner. There we have information about the aim of the method, the setting, the description, and the required materials. And these strategies and methods are divided in ice-breaking strategies, strategies for small and large group discussions, project work strategies, conversational strategies, strategies of flipped classroom, and case-based strategies. And in addition to these, a guide is provided by INTAL, which supports faculties in higher education to implement active teaching practices in international settings. INTAL also supports students in entering the labor market by providing information on career fields, skills needed on labor market, the application process, as well as online stories about professional pathways from colleagues from the practice field of adult education. For different job profiles, for example, career counselor or instructional designer, information on possible tasks and responsibilities, qualifications and skills, as well as possible employers are available on our website. The online stories about professional pathways were recorded with 10 colleagues from adult education, and they were asked several questions, such as what job they had before, what knowledge and skills they have developed throughout life, and what is relevant for their job as adult educators. Additionally, with a list of skills available on the INTAL website, students are intended to be guided by reflecting on their own skills and the skills needed on labor market. And to enhance the learning, employment prospects, and career management of students, INTAL is also providing a guide in creating and using e-portfolios, which can be used by students and for entering the labor market and teachers in preparing their students in entering the labor market. And the e-portfolio can be used to demonstrate knowledge, skills, values, and achievements to possible employers. In addition, on the INTAL website, information about how to prepare a CV, how to prepare a cover letter, how to prepare for a job interview, and how to introduce itself in social media, such as LinkedIn, are available. And for teachers in higher education, a didactic guide was developed, which can be used to support students in entering the labor market. For teaching students and practitioners together, INTAL has developed a blended learning methodology, which is part of the INTAL joint module. The joint module is a didactical blended learning program that is divided in a preparatory phase, starting each year in November, a 2-week adult education academy at campus Würzburg in February, and an online follow-up which gives doctoral students and practitioners the possibility to publish a scientific paper. And after the successful participation, every participant can get a certificate of participation. And for students and practitioners interested in a formal university certificate with a grade, a recognition model was developed through which the participants can receive a grade after the submission of a written transnational essay by students and a written good practice example by practitioners. And now I hand over to Professor EGETENMEYER, which gives you more information about the joint module and the international collaboration within the joint module.
Thank you very much, Vanessa BEU, for this introduction into the entire project. So you see, we had developed 8 years before, we have started to develop this joint study offer, where the idea was the colleagues, the professors come with their students to Campus Würzburg and start to teach them together. Whereby, Balázs, you may be allowed to say me, this was a big experiment during the first year. We the first year was already much bigger than we planned, and the success was also much bigger than we was planned. And this led forward that to develop a very structured program, which was very critical, reflected by the big team each year, and which has the shape which it has now. What Vanessa BEU has presented you are several results which grow up over the time. We found out, for example, that we have seen that several students could not be physically mobile, because the idea was always that students prepare in advance and then travel to Würzburg and study there. But several people didn't have possibility due to family obligations or other reasons. And so we started to develop this INTAL at home, that students also have the possibility to study the issues if they will not be mobile. And the other thing was that we started to reflect, we as partners, we should reflect more about active learning and how to engage international groups in active learning. This is why we have developed this guide about teaching and learning methods for international groups. And the colleagues from Florence, they always looked very much on how different the employment market is in Germany compared to Italy. So out of this perspective, these materials on working in adult education and employability grow. And this is how these results will develop. They will develop out of our continuing work and out of the needs and issues we have found out. And this is and if we look now in the literature about how to do international collaborations, we see that we do a lot what is theoretically said. So what we do is teaching mobility. So our partners travel each year to University of Würzburg, and I also have traveled during the last years to almost all partner universities. We do student mobility, so students come to us. We offer our program in a kind of joint module. It's not a joint degree, but it's a joint module. It means that the students study it together, and at home it is recognized within their studies. We have developed this formal partnership. We do joint research activities. I will show it later. And we integrate it in the study programs. We also have found a scholarship scheme where we can support the students with the travel cost. The language learning, this aspect is decreasing over time. So I have the impression that students know each year better how to speak in English, and we see that it's the priorities for them not that big as it was 5-6 years ago. And yes, this question of joint curricula, there we are of course only a little bit referring to, but it is of course a big question how to link our curricula better to each other. So we can go to the next slide, where we see that we offer this joint module on the one hand to our master and doctoral students in adult education and lifelong learning, which strengthens at the end all of our master programs. This is a very interesting aspect, that the deeper we collaborate, the more visibility each of us get in our university. This is really the case, and more attractive we build up our programs. And we focus on master and doctoral students. We have partly a different program for them, but partly they also work together. So they have in Würzburg a status as exchange or module student, which means that they get, after the finalization of this program, they get a formal certificate of my university, which means they can go back to their universities and recognize it, or if there are no partner university, they get a module certificate, which is possible according to the Bavarian higher education law that we certify modules. We do what is very important for us. We do a very intensive online preparation before the Adult Education Academy. So the participants, they all read a lot. They get videos. We do joint sessions now, also via Zoom. And each of them are preparing a report which is based on the situation in their country. This is a lot of preparation work. but it ensures a high quality of the 2-week intensive phase in Würzburg. And so the end is that we only have very active participants with which we work very intensively. We also work, and this made the program now during the last 3 years really very, very interesting, with colleagues from adult education practice. This means that we want a lot of people from practice to also participate in our program. They also study with us. They are preparing in readings, and they also present adult education practice cases, which are very valuable also for the researchers, because it's enlarging our idea about adult education practice. And if we look on the structure of the adult education, yes, and we have each year around around 70 participants. So this year it seems that we get 115 lecturers for all over the world. Yes. If we look on the structure, I know it's very complex, but just to get an idea, we have this preparatory phase with this online tutorials and preparatory readings. So you will see here this. It is also available. Everything is available, open access on our webpage. They prepare this transnational essay, and then we will go on in this 2-week academy, where we differentiate between master students and doctoral students. With the master class, we work on lifelong learning strategies in Europe, and with the doctoral class on adult education theories, mainly based on Paulo Freire. And during the 2nd week, we compare issues and aspects in lifelong learning. While we do in the 1st week a lot of classes and field visits and discussions with international stakeholders, we are in bigger classes, and the participants get more input only with certain group works. The 2nd week is very much based on very active learning activities, where we call the professors moderators. So they rather guide the students to work on the comparison of certain topics, and this is ending in an open space presentation by the end of the academy. The doctoral students and the practitioners have afterwards possibility to work on a publication, where I will say further on, we also have developed this tutorial to help doctoral students how to write an international publication. This we experienced as very important. Of course, there are many things around, which you see in the yellow part, this joint learning community, where the professors and moderators discuss ongoingly, very critically, how it works, what we can do better. We have developed this digital learning environment for self-studying. We have a LinkedIn network. Also, the colleagues, the professors, they prepare their students in their home universities before they come to Würzburg, and we have this blended learning methodology on employability. This means there is a really, it's really an academy where many things are around. So if we, in the year 2021, of course, we were tackled by COVID. So we were one of the few academies who had the possibility in the year 2020, as we were in February, that we really have met. And these 2 weeks were very rich for us. We have talked a lot that we had this possibility to do this very intensive meeting. But in 2021, of course, we also had the COVID activity or the COVID attack, and which means we have worked in 2021 virtually with the OpenView Campus, which is based on Moodle, and the Mahara platform, which is an e-portfolio platform, which helped to support these activities, because there all the participants have presented the results of their comparisons in a data protected way. So this was very important. We had, again, I think 70 participants, and they were 2 weeks each day in front of the computer, and they were from Siberia until Brasilia. So it was really the time distance was really far. The colleague from Brazil, she always stand up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and she said in the third day, "Oh, I'm now already missing this time," because it was very intensive and very social. Okay, so of course the virtual joint module it contributed to the flexibility. So there were some people who couldn't take part if they would have to travel to Germany, also for financial reasons. So we have always participants from European universities. We have a strong collaboration with Nigeria, with 3 Nigerian universities, and with 2 institutions in India. And so this, of course, brought flexibility. It brought less limitations. It was also interesting that Zoom really worked. So the internet worked. We of course have prepared them that they should look for a good internet connection, that they should work with a computer if it's possible and not with a mobile device, and so on. We explored different learning possibilities. So we explored a lot of online tools, a lot of active learning things. Of course, this brought a kind of sustainability, as we have done a lot of videos, and we have uploaded them now in an OpenView campus where you all can get access to. And of course, it was concerning the traveling, a cost reduction, but not concerning the staff money. If we go now and reflect, what do we think, what is central for the success of this program? I think one issue which is very central is that we have integrated into the curriculum of our universities, which means that we have an institutional responsibility feeling and of our home universities, which makes it very easier or much easier. So in my sense, in my case, it makes the situation much easier. Sorry. We also see that the recognition of the ECTS is very important. On the one hand, for the students who recognize it within their study programs, but also with the module certification of the associated partners. We have several participants who come from countries where they say, I would not have the possibility to study adult education, and I would not have the possibility to live 2 years in Germany to do a full study program. So this is a really central issue that we can formalize it. This is also at the end, it's an increase of the mobility rate of students. And this is, of course, it is an increase of internationalization of our universities where we all are applied to do it, and where this formalization makes it easier. As we understand this program as a joint program, this is very essential. We start to share resources. Like we look where we can apply for scholarships to realize the program, and we really see it helps if all partner works on this and not only one partner, and this helps a lot. We also share, we have a joint share of knowledge management. So our partner from Italy, they are very, very experienced in active learning. So they showed us a lot of tools very early. Our partners in Dublin, they are very experienced in Mahara. And so we learn a lot from each others and try to work on the better of the program. What I think, so the question is, what I sometimes think is how we can manage that the colleagues really come now since 8 years to Würzburg. So why is Balázs coming since 8 years to Würzburg? And of course, I think one reason is that we combine the teaching with research. So if you like to win professors continually for teaching something, it's good to combine it with research. So Balázs comes each year with a topic on which he's also doing a lot of research, like learning cities. And each colleague is coming with its research topic, which will be the topic of the comparisons. And this means that we have, on the one hand, for the students, topics where we have very experienced colleagues who are very up to date to the actual research. And on the other hand, the professors have the possibility with this comparison to get insight into the phenomenon they are researching also from different countries, which is very interesting. So I know from Balázs Group that you get insights about learning communities in Nigeria, which you normally would not have access to. And so it also enriches the research. Or we have practitioners who show how they concretely do learning city developments in their regions. So this is really a very central issue that we combine this. And so it's enriching for all of us. And in a follow-up, we have this possibility for publication, and you see here the results of the different publications about which we are very happy on. So the colleagues are publishing in a comparative way of a paper, and it's published in international reviewed context, sometimes in journals, sometimes in editorial books, and this will allow to also get a research output on the one hand, and on the other hand, it allows, so this publication now written between the doctoral students and the moderators, it also helps the doctoral students to learn how to write an international paper. We have the experience that they come to us and it's frequently the first time they are doing this kind of publication. And so it is really interesting and a very good process. So this is the structure of our partnership, and I will stop now and will hand over to Balázs to open the floor for questions.
Thank you very much, Regina and Vanessa. This is an interesting and very much challenging type of activity amongst higher education institutions, where there's quite a significant choice of collecting and sharing good practices, but also to promote research work, comparative studies for the sake of professionalization, quality developments of a particular field. And now I would like to open the floor to questions and reflections, because we have a good time to make some inputs in different forms. There can be comments and questions and reflections to come. And I would like to ask Monse whether there have been any chat-based question indicated so far.
No, Balázs, no, there is nothing. So
not yet. Okay.
At the beginning, and I think if I think on the difficulties, it was, of course, the question is on the one hand to manage the number of participants and to manage the moderators. This is a big question. And we experienced that if you do the comparison, that you need very good formed groups. They cannot be too big, they cannot be too small. You need a certain level. This means you need also a certain amount of practitioners or doctoral students to do it on a good level. And we cannot have too many countries in one group because then if you compare 10 countries, you don't compare anything. You only write numbers next to next. And this, of course, means at the end that not every person go to the group or topic what he or she likes on. So this is, of course, one challenge, that we form and module the groups very, very much, and that the people have to be open to come in this activity, work very much, and are willing to do what we offer them. Of course, what is an issue is the money for the travel issues, because we were so far financed over the Erasmus Strategic Partnership Program. We now hope that we can do something with the blended intensive programs of the new program line. But this will not solve the interest of participation of our from the students from our partners outside the EU. So we hope that with this new program we can work on it. Of course, what is another issue is that so from the Würzburg side, we need a lot of resources to manage this program. It is really, really big. And so Vanessa is sitting here very small and silent, but you really, it is a huge management issue, and you have to be willing to invest in this program. So according to the Bavarian law, we cannot ask for charges, or we cannot charge this program. So we have to organize this money on our own. But as long as we have the target internationalization, it will help us to get the finances. So this is what is really interesting, and this is very nice, that it was so far no problem to get the colleagues, because I always say, you are my richness. So they are coming. They are coming. We are offering jointly. It is not, it's not financed. It's not so Balázs is coming. We managed to finance his ticket and his hotel, but nothing more. Which means so nobody's coming because of money. This makes the things, but at the end, easier, because you only have people who are interested to work on this. So
passion. So it's all about passion.
Yes. And this is really the issue. So it's no money making machine, which makes the things, I think, also easier, because you don't talk about this kind of things. You talk about the topics, how to support the students, how to manage it.
There was another question. Thank you very much, Wyatt, for the question indeed. Thank you. There's another question from Olesia that what was the age of the students that you were teaching? How old were they?
Most of them, of course, were young, but not all of them. So we from Germany, we have very young students, but sometimes we have people who are a little bit elderly, and they always say they feel so well if they are in the international context, because there they are not, again, the eldest. So we have also elderly people, but of course, whom we can hardly reach, and this is also a problem, is people in the middle with the family obligation, because who can travel therefore for 2 weeks to Würzburg? This is outside of the country. This is of course a problem. Yes, but they were yes. So, and especially with the practitioners, it becomes now also that we have more experienced people, and this is very rich for us. Okay, and now the
Thank you very much. Yeah, the feedback, there is another question. Thank you very much for this, about the feedbacks, how you collected the feedback from students and faculty about their experience and what participants say.
So I maybe can hand over to Vanessa BEU, because she's managing each year the evaluation.
Yes, right. Yes, we have an evaluation which is made directly after the 2 weeks in Würzburg. And then we also have a midterm evaluation, which is 15 months after the participation in the program. So we can see the long-term effects of the program. And so far we have received very good feedback from the participants, and also recommendations how we could improve our program, which was especially important after the virtual education, because for us it was the first time to organize a completely virtual program. So yes, that's our experience, that we got very positive feedback, but also recommendations. For example, they had wished more breaks or more moderation, because, for example, students from other countries don't have any notebooks. They use their smartphones, so for them it's more difficult to participate in the group works with the online tools we have used. So they need more time or more moderation, and that are, for example, things that we have learned from this year. And next year we are planning a hybrid program, so it's another challenge for us.
Yes, it's a little bit, if we talk with the faculty, it's a little bit, we have always the idea to try something, and we have the feeling that we are not alone. So if you are 8 universities, most of the time there is somewhere an expert, yes, and this helps very much to do things which you like to do, but maybe you are not that experienced on. So in this virtual mode last year, it was incredibly important to talk together and to get an idea about it. And of course we will discuss each year. And it's interesting. I have the impression that colleagues prepare their students each year more intensive, because they observe what works and what works not that good on the one hand, and on the other hand, during the week, the second week, they do more and more active learning, which means they trust more and more the participants to work on their own.
We have a comment here from Carmel. As a former participant, I can only reconfirm how enriching and versatile this Internet Education Academy is. Having taken part, I just don't see the last sentence. Just 1 second. Yes, have taken part as an MA student and as a PhD student, and I'm so eager to participate in 2022 again. So there are people who are returning back to the program because they are very much grabbed by the enthusiasm. As just Wyatt mentioned, that you need to have a certain level of engagement in the topic itself if you want to develop. You do it not because it is a claim from outside. You need to have a certain personal motivation. and a good climate created in the international environment for this. So I think this is, again, very much important. Let me just turn back to the floor if there are more questions or comments to come. In the meantime, you think I would also like to, Berger, Hanne Temberger asked, what materials on adult education do you use? What topics do you teach?
So during the first week, we teach international policies in adult education and lifelong learning. So we have there developed during the last years for the preparation videos, we have selected texts, we have developed exercises, which are for the preparatory phase, and during the phase we have developed PowerPoints from the colleagues. We have developed exercises, and then we are doing the group work. So one central strategy or one central idea is that out of these, so during the first week, the participants develop an idea on the one hand, how we can analyze and observe international policies in lifelong learning. They learn a certain model with which they can observe it. And then they get to know they get input about the current lifelong learning policies, and then they also go into practice, into field visits with this observation grid and observe what they see there. And afterwards they come back and they reflect it. And so we do, I think, all in all 6 field visits. Each participants select 2 of the visits and to get an insight on it. So the idea is theoretical input, understanding via group work, developing an observation grid, going into practice, collecting data, and then analyzing the data and discussing them to come back again how this model works. And during the second week, during the second week, we have the focus of comparison in adult education. There, each participant is coming with a paper which they have prepared in advance and where they were guided in advance to do it and to prepare it. And then so you can imagine we have around 10 participants per group from 4 different countries. And then we try to understand this phenomenon of, for example, learning cities or regions in these 4 different countries. And then we start to compare the situation in the different countries. Then we try to understand why it is different and similar. And out of this, by the end, a presentation will be done. So the learning materials, they were developed on the one hand, but many things also come from the participants. And I think one reason of the success is also that the participants prepare very intensively. If they don't prepare, the program does not work. Yes, and I think they are maybe also happy because they are in a group where everybody is prepared and where they really can work in depth on. And so I think this is a very central issue. Yes.
There was this comment accordingly coming that so the focus is on policy rather than on pedagogy education itself. Do I understand correctly?
So no. So during the first week, it's on adult education policies. Yes. But also on how you can observe this in practice. And during the second week, the focus is on selected phenomena in adult education. So it's rather broad. It's from learning cities. It can be teaching methods in higher education to compare it between different universities. It is about time in adult education. It is about, just to go through, about adult education or organizations, about professionalization in adult education, about study programs in adult education. So it's really broad. It's always depending on the research focus of the colleague. So it is about education, but not only.
Thank you. Thank you so much indeed. Do we have more comments or questions? If not, I would like to thank you very much for your contribution. You and also Vanessa's input into this first day to deal with professionalization from different aspects, different approaches to the same topic. And before we close, I would like to ask Montse to open the presentation. Just to, we would like to have an overview of the whole week. Tomorrow we will turn to two distinguished colleagues to discuss and make an input on a particular aspect. Paula Guimarães from University of Lisbon will indicate some very interesting dimension and deal with a question of, is professionalization of adult educators important? And then also Carmel Berendi from Würzburg will deal with beyond professionalization, higher education institutions and adult educators cooperation to foster learning communities. And then we will step into Thursday. On Thursday, there will be another input from another colleague from Freie University, from Fernuniversität Hagen.
Yes, Balázs is Lise Glass, but
yeah,
I don't have the slide.
No worries, okay. Because I did my best to share with you right now, and my last slide, I think you can have a good look right now. Just a second. Can you see my slide? And on Thursday, there will be Elise Glass to discuss pedagogical professionalization through higher education, theoretical perspectives on reflective student learning. And on Friday, the 5th of November, we will come back in a special way to have a panel discussion, not only with Regina and Vanessa, Paula, Karma, and Elisa, but also with people who would like to join in and discuss some occurring aspects of professionalization in adult and lifelong learning from a particular scope of higher education institutions. So thank you very much for your inputs for today, and we look forward to your coming back on Friday at 3 to have a panel discussion on some challenges and opportunities in the field. And I would like to thank you very much for your participation, each and all of you. Thank you very much for your engagement and showing interest to turn up. And thank you very much, Vanessa and Regina, for sharing with you your experience regarding professionalization through a particular adult education academy at the University of Würzburg in international environment. Thank you indeed for now, and let's meet tomorrow at 3. Thank you very much for now. Bye-bye.